Memory transcription subject: Captain Sovlin, United Nations Fleet Command. Date: Standardized Human Time, December 5th, 2136. To recount the harrowing hours after the initial clash would be a strenuous ordeal in itself. The Terrans' intention was to turn this into a lengthy battle, one which could go on for days. It was gut-wrenching to see Arxur vessels huddled around Silas's azure shape. I knew this was a facsimile of what the Predators saw on Earth. There had never been a chance of holding or retaking the planet, not against a superior enemy. The UN kept our forces active, while rotating personnel to keep fresh eyes on duty. Carlos and Onzo were given leave for a short nap, though they were set to return within a few hours. Samantha was going through cups of brown liquid like it was a magic elixir, and Tyler had summoned a mug of his own. As a former officer, I understood his hesitancy to abandon his station. I'm feeling a bit worn out myself. This is the longest battle I've ever witnessed. They're supposed to end in the span of a few hours. Any updates, Sovlin? Tyler stifled a yawn and shook his head to avert sleepiness. Break down the Arxur's current movement. I blinked my heavy eyelids. Sir, the Greys haven't deviated from their orbital positions. They're on high alert, since our fleet is utilizing these hit-and-run tactics, as you call them. And the FTL disruptors are holding? Yes, sir. UN ships are emitting that signal loud and clear, since we're outside the reach of Silas's transmitters. Don't want the bastards warping in right atop us, like we did to them. Good. And Sovlin? You look like shit. Get some rest. I'll have a tech cover for you. I disembarked from my seat, knowing that I wasn't much of a tactical specialist with my current brain fog. The humans weren't going to win this war by exhausting their crew. It wasn't clear how long we could stay in a state of combat readiness. Even a Predator would tire of stress-driven situations over an extended duration. My paws shuffled into the mess hall, and I collapsed on the cool floor. Godges certainly weren't built for constant adrenaline. It was a matter of time before the humans' efficacy diminished as well, and our resistance crumbled. Predators tired of a chase after a while, which was why prey gained their flight impulse. When Carlos and Sam discussed their legends with Solani, they left out their historical battles. I could fill in the blanks well enough from the Federation's knowledge. Tyler had discussed Earth's world wars, though in limited detail. The first conflict was a particular display of primitive barbarism. Its trench warfare was either exaggerated or had resulted in sloppy performances from their soldiers. The fact that it took so long to sue for peace was stubbornness. It was the refusal to surrender that Carlos mentioned. A human's body and mind would break before their will. I snoozed on the mess hall floor. My dreams were broken, bits of harsh memories sewn together. Tyler's confirmation that humans fought wars for thousands of years looped through my head. My brain fused that encounter with Zahn's initial briefing. The Takan doctor had been emphatic, stating that Terrans tormented each other through constant battle. Humans are conquerors, who derive pleasure from dominating others. That is what their explorers have always done on their homeworld. They are aggressive, brutal, and territorial, Zahn's voice declared. Tyler, hurling me into the cabinets, resurfaced. It's just how we are, man. The imagery became increasingly surreal and chaotic, as my subconscious grasped at examples of their empathy. The humans had allowed a Godget hospital ship to pass through the border skirmish. Those pilots' radio chatter had conveyed a desire to talk, not fight. Throughout that clash, their forces ignored the vulnerable colony and hammered our military outposts instead. Those weren't the actions of out-of-control brutes. A calloused hand shook my shoulder, and I groaned as I stirred. The explorers on Venlil Prime hadn't done what Zahn implied. First Contact should have seen Tava's world conquered, when even Tyler acknowledged that invigorating drive. How could I understand mankind's dichotomous nature when the past and the present were contradictions. If I solve that riddle, it might give me an honest perspective on the God's monstrous side too. Sovlin, you can't just sleep out here. Carlos was hovering over me and taking care to avoid my bristling spines. We let you get a few hours of shut-eye, but someone's gonna step on you. I rubbed my eyes. Carlos, are humans, as a species, conquerors? I don't think so. We're warriors, and some people confuse the two. Mixing clannish tendencies and competition, then believe that your enemy is intrinsically different from you. Yes, we felt that way toward our own. But look what the herbivores did to us because of that same belief. You're saying old humans didn't see their enemies as people? Yes, that's the belief that makes monsters of us all. Nobody has empathy for someone that is too unlike. The pieces clicked in my brain, alongside a rush of horror. The Federation was guilty of the same savagery as the humans. They pillaged and condemned Earth because predators weren't people. Brutal capabilities didn't just lurk inside primitive uplifts and flesh-eating species. Most concerningly, zero empathy wasn't a requisite to complete atrocities beyond comprehension. But it's not just a trait of the Godgets. Thank the Protector. You're very wise, Carlos, I murmured. I wonder where you learned it from. The olive-skinned soldier sighed. Let's just say I didn't grow up in a stable home. There's a reason I didn't check in on my family post-Earth. I decided that I never wanted to be like my old man, and that I was going to figure things out for myself. And you joined the Peacekeepers to get away? Yes. I got assigned to humanitarian missions at first, and it felt good to make a difference. I learned a lot about people. Humans. I learned how to stand in the other guy's shoes. Thank you for trying to understand me from the beginning. I never deserved it. I'm not so sure you're a bad person. You had that belief I talked about, and it made you a monster. That's as human as it gets, Sovlin. I'm not sure that is a compliment. Oh, it's not. Anyhow, Tyler, Officer Cardona wants us back on the bridge. Let's get to work, huh? Carlos ushered me back into the bridge, a rejuvenated light in his eyes. The situation on Silas appeared unchanged, from a cursory glance at the viewport. Smaller Terran craft harassed the Arxur fringes, while the main UN fleet prevented escape or reinforcements. The Greys weren't challenging our position. It seemed that the demons wanted us to make the first move, while the humans were in no rush to act. Captain Monaghan had joined the brown liquid party, with a steaming cup in her hand. The commander was still supervising the bridge, and her puffy eye suggested she hadn't taken any reprieve. Our warship was playing a supporting role, poking at any Arxur that neared Terran ranks. Combat readiness was maintained on the bridge. If there was an opportune moment, we'd capitalize on it. I strode up to a weary Tyler. Sir, you wanted us back? Shit, I'm ready to tear the Greys a new one. Our rested Onzo sorted up to our group. We're in agreement there. When are we charging in? We're making plans, the blonde-haired human growled. Listen to what we intercepted while you were out. The Arxur got a nice call through their, shall I say, poorly hidden FTL comms. I peered at the sensor officer's screen, and saw video clips from across the region. It was news to me that the Arxur possessed FTL communications. Building such a network seemed beyond their intelligence. How had the Federation never detected this infrastructure, if it existed? Nonetheless, it was tough to argue with footage that couldn't have reached us yet. The first clip Tyler selected was from a probe encircling a military station. Massive hangars were visible from above, alongside a few patrollers circling lazily. Alarms sounded on the base, moments before sleek bombers blinked into existence. I could see the UN's insignia emblazoned on their hulls, alongside other retrofits. The upgrades were apparent from what humanity's allies first loaned them. So this is why we weren't given more numbers for the Shadow Fleet. The resources were diverted elsewhere, and not just to the war with the Federation. The Terran bombers swooped down on the Dominion installation, just as they had assaulted Godship bases. Enemy resistance was wiped out upon contact, unable to hold a candle to this raid. Munitions rained down on the Marshal Station and obliterated its defensive outfits first. Explosions punished the living quarters next. Any filthy greys still on board were buried. The humans ensured that nothing remained of the base, and that no Arxur escaped off-world. It floored me that the Greys had allocated so few ships to defense. Then again, the aggressive monsters couldn't think of anything but killing. Their singular focus was inflicting torment upon the Tillfish homeworld. It had been a long time since the Arxur met a worthy foe. Samantha swallowed a gulp of her bean drink. It's the same scene on every base we're aware of. Even if these fuckwits take Silis, they'll have no place for the ships to return. Oh, and we snipped the cord on those comms too. I flicked my claws. Nice work. You took the bastards for everything they're worth. We took something else of theirs too, Tyler chuckled. You'll like this, Gadget. The tall human picked out a new video from the data feed. A Terran transport was docking with a streamlined station, which seemed tailored to ship traffic rather than war. More UN craft latched onto other compartments, rather than causing a traffic jam in the main hangar. The primates were well practiced at forced entries. They make an opening or pick a lock where necessary. Tyler jumped to an internal security feed, which showed armored humans busting through an emergency airlock. Fattened Arxur guards greeted them with gunfire, but the Terrans overran their garrison. The boarding party mowed down their opposition and barked to each other about rescuing captives. Several primates returned past the camera, carrying prey aliens that were in poor condition. We've had the plans to liberate the cattle farms since day one. Now that we know how the Greys operate, we fucking hit every farm too, Samantha hissed. Carlos bared his teeth. Our estimates are millions of cattle per sector. How are we going to get them all off-world? They're in our custody, and that's what matters. Tyler suppressed a yawn and blinked with drowsiness. We'll move as many as we can. That's one hell of a humanitarian victory, Carlos. Forget the logistics, I said. Onzo curled his lip. Why aren't the Greys going back for their assets? Because that ship has sailed, buddy, Tyler answered. They threw the whole sector for one rock. Might as well take Silis. They had nothing to lose. Satisfaction swelled in my chest, and the yotl brightened with content as well. The Arxur just lost all major assets and infrastructure across a 100 light-year radius. This could be a pivotal turning point in the war. While the humans had sacrificed Silis, they had undermined the Greys' malice everywhere else. This was cause for celebration, no matter what unfolded in this system. I'd love to see the Predators losing their dim-witted minds, I chuckled. Samantha folded her arms. Would you? Show him what they directed at us. Tyler brought up a single outbound transmission, and the visage of a female Grey materialized. It was the same one taunting the humans at the start of the battle. Now, its maw was agape with fury. Its eyes were furious slits. It jabbed its claws at the camera, like it wished to stab the listener through the screen. You irrelevant grass munchers really fucked up now. How dare you destroy Dominion assets? I'm going to burn this fucking planet to the ground! The raving Arxur roared. Since you killed my food, I'm going to make a cattle farm solely of humans to replace it. That will put you back in your fucking place. You will regret this! I blinked in confusion. The Greys perceived the humans as equals, and that should be doubly true after our battlefield prowess here. From what I'd overheard, it would go against the Arxur's twisted philosophy to eat another predator. Was this chief hunter really going to go against its government stance out of spite? I don't think the humans would make good cattle. They're too headstrong and devious. Tyler cleared his throat. That leads us to our plan. Evacuations on Silis were subpar given their rush timetable. We will in no circumstances stand for humans being captured for that purpose. So what are we doing? Shooting down cattle ships? I offered. If it comes to that and we can't board them, yes. But getting soldiers off Silis just became a priority. The UN fleet is going to engage the Arxur head-on, distract them. Meanwhile, shuttles will sneak through the gaps and rescue as many humans as possible. Great, sir. Just tell me how we're going to get their attention. That's the thing. I will be heading down to the surface. I know it's atypical for an officer to volunteer himself, but a personal matter has come up that I must attend to. Onzo hissed in annoyance. You didn't invite me. Where was the sign-up sheet? You can come if you want to. But buddy, it's very dangerous. Dangerous for them? I'm coming with you. End of discussion. That was an interesting way of speaking to a superior officer, but the Yotl seemed to get special considerations. I couldn't understand why Tyler would rush off and shirk his station duties. It was an unusual decision, to say the least. What could be personal enough to assuage his judgment? While I didn't want to challenge the big guy, I felt a responsibility to talk some sense into him. Forgive my insolence, but I care about your welfare. You're an officer, sir, like you said. I chewed at my claws, anxious at the risk Tyler was undertaking. With respect, you're more useful up here. The captain wouldn't want you wasting your talents on field work. Captain Monahan has been appraised of the circumstances, and she signed off on my departure, the census officer rumbled. With this development, I will be too distracted to fulfill my duties. You guys will be fine without me. What development? Personal or not, I can't understand without a clue why you're doing this. Samantha grimaced. We should just tell Sovlin, sir. He'll find out on his own. And Tyler narrowed his eyes. Suit yourself. The floor is all yours, Sammy. It's Sam. Anyway, snap to it, Sovlin. I was scanning transmissions from the surface, like Ty ordered, and I keyed into this one. Samantha's pale fingers scrolled through her viewing history, and she picked out a highlighted transmission. I eyed the humans warily, wondering why they had reservations about sharing this information. What could happen on Silis that had any personal impact on myself? The Tillfish genocide was tragic, but I had no connections on the surface. A broken audio clip filtered through the speakers. This is Captain Marcel Fraser. Hot blood rushed to my ears, and a ringing sound drowned out the rest of the transmission. I keeled over against the station, shaking my head in denial. That predator's voice was one I could recognize anywhere. Knowing that Marcel, the human I'd tormented, was trapped on Silis, changed everything. Of course Tyler wanted to rush off and rescue his packmate. What would Marcel think of my presence on this ship? What if Slanek is with him? I threw that poor Venno around like a rag doll. Guilt ebbed through my veins with renewed strength. How was it fair that I was cozy on this ship, while Marcel and Slanek could be captured to a cattle farm? If there was a way for me to trade places, I would do it in a heartbeat. It wouldn't scratch the debt I owed my two victims. I deserved suffering from the beginning anyways. The Terrans were too merciful. Tyler twisted his fingers into my scruff. Sovlin? Shit. This is why I didn't want to tell him. I can't. Tears soaked my cheek fur, and mucus congested my nasal passageways. Good luck, sir. I understand. Hey, I'm gonna get Marcel and Slanek out of there. Just need to pull someone off Nav Station to fly my shuttle. I know those folks are a lot harder to replace than us people reading screens. Not sure we can spare a pilot, but I have to get to Silis. I'll go. I can fly. No way. How the fuck would I explain that to Marcel and Slanek? I've flown down during an orbital raid before, back when I picked up Solani. Carlos and Sam can attest to my skills. It's the best option for the ship, sir. I don't think they'll react well to your presence. You know what I mean. Slanek and Marcel are both pilots. If Vida wishes to serve me to the Greys, I will crawl into their cages willingly. I just need to get you down there. Let me do this for them. For Marcel. Tyler crossed his arms, deliberating his options. I understood that my victims wouldn't be pleased to see me, but taking a pilot from Navigations could get humans here killed. It had to be an expendable crew member, like myself. Besides, from my perspective, failure was not an option. Marcel and Selnek would be saved, if I had to sacrifice myself in the process. Fine, the census officer decided. Let's get a shuttle and get moving.